Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses, or if you're already doing how to grow your business. So I got a question. It's a great question, and the question is, what is a variance, and how does it affect your ability to wholesale or flip houses? So it really, I think it came because I mentioned variances in a video I done before, and I am far from perfect. But one of the worst things that I do very often is that I assume that people know some of the things that I know, and really I should not assume anything. So very often, and I apologize in advance because I'm probably going to do this again, I'll use a term that you don't understand, and I'm happy that people ask and say, "What are you talking about?" So what is a variance and how does it affect us? So a variance is an exception. So what this means is that in any area there are zoning laws. Zoning laws dictate what can be built in a certain area and what kind of rules there are. So I'll give you some examples. Town of Hempstead, most town of Hempstead, it is zoned single family only. There are parts of Queens where it's single or two family. You could buy a single family there, make it a two family, and you're perfectly within your rights. More examples of zoning laws are a certain minimum square footage or frontage requirements. A standard, not standard, but in most parts of Long Island, not all, the minimum square footage is 6,000 square feet with 60 feet of frontage. So that means you need 60 feet on the street and then at least 100 feet deep to build a house. There are places that have much larger requirements. Very high-end areas may require you an acre or 2 acres or 3 acres, but those are some typical zoning laws. Also, zoning laws about how far the house has to be set back from the front of the property, from the rear of the property, from the sides of the property. Those are zoning laws. Now, sometimes you want to build something that doesn't meet those laws, so you have to request a variance. Variance means an exception to those zoning laws, and you have to go in front of a Board of Zoning Appeals, a BZA, for whatever municipality governs there, whatever building department. So if you're in an incorporated village, you have to go in front of that incorporated village. If you're in a town, whatever it is, you have to check and see who is the governing building department and then ask them the process to get a variance. And I have requested and been denied and granted many variances through the years. It is a lengthy, expensive, very frustrating process. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean. So I had a property in Elmont, and it was being used as a 3-unit, which is very common in Elmont. It had a C of O as a single family, and it was like 11,800 square feet. The minimum square footage for a 2-family was 12,000 square feet. So I was asking for a variance. Can I get a certificate of occupancy as a 2-family on something that's 200 square feet, a very small amount, less than is required? And we made the case that it's being used as a 3. I'm going to actually reduce the usage, and I was denied. They basically told me to pound sand. Made no sense at all. I didn't bother with it. I actually kept it as a 3-family and sold it, and I had no problems with it. I had another situation, ironically also in Elmont, where I had a 80 by 100 foot property, and very common to the area were 40 by 100 lots. It was I don't think there should have been a house there, and I wanted to subdivide it, and I got denied to subdivide it. What the process for a variance is that you usually have to go get a radius map. So you need a map of all the properties that touch your property within 100 or 200 feet. Every place has different requirements. And you need that radius map for 2 reasons. The first is to show the Board of Zoning Appeals what is common for the area. So for example, if you want to build on a 4,000 square foot lot when you need a 6,000 square foot lot, in certain places you may get that variance, if it's typical at least 51% of the lots that are within 200 feet around your property are substandard lots, so less than 60 by 100. If it's less than that, if it's less than 51%, you're almost certainly not going to get a variance. But let's say most of the lots in the area are less than 6,000 square feet. So you may get a variance for it. That's one reason, is you need to show the Board of Zoning Appeals what all the lots in the area look like. Second thing is you also need to mail out notice of your actual variance hearing to everybody in that radius. So anybody that lives near the property has to know that there's a variance hearing coming up, and they can come in and say, no, this is going to be terrible. And inevitably, people will always come out and say that. I'm actually on the planning board of my village that I live in. And I look at sometimes the minutes of the planning board hearings from a long time ago, and it's this. People say the same things every time. So 100 years ago, people were complaining that they were going to build in one. They're going to add 2 houses in one area. Where now there's 1,000 houses. 2 houses is going to change the property, change the area. So people will come up and complain, and sometimes if people do, if neighbors complain, you won't be granted your variance, right? So one of the things you should do in advance is go to all the people that are on that radius map and talk to them about what you're doing and explain to them why you think it makes sense, and that you would like their support. If you can get letters from them saying, hey, I live at this street, I'm not far away, and I'm for it, that will help you too. But that's the variance process. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I've been denied variances that I absolutely should have been granted. I recently bought a property in the village of Babylon, and I wanted to subdivide it. I do a lot of subdivisions, so I buy a property that's pretty big. It's got a house on one side. I want to subdivide the other side. And I was about to do it, and I owned it for a while, and after talking to more people, I was basically told, in essence, you're never, ever going to get that variance. So I just sold the property, basically like break even, because that happens. And it's important that you need to know this, because and things change. Like example, in Wyandanch, the town of Babylon, there's a lot of lots in Wyandanch that are 40 by 100, but they will not give you a variance to build less than, let's say, 50 by 100 anymore. They just decided they're not doing it. Also, sometimes if there's sewers there or not, or if there's septic tanks, you need to go get approval for that. It's not an easy process, and it's not for the faint of heart, and it is not an absolute given ever that you're going to be granted that variance. So that's what a variance is. And another thing, homeowners have no clue as to what can or cannot be built there. So I'll get people calling me, this guy says you can build 4 houses here. And I'm like, there's no way you can build more than 2. Homeowners, sometimes they lie, right? Sometimes they're just straight out lying, and sometimes they just have no idea. Either way, you cannot rely on what a homeowner tells you ever about zoning and what can be built there. The basics, is if there's a house there, you probably can fix up the house. Probably. Sometimes there's not. I bought properties that were non-conforming. What that means is that I did a property in Baldwin where there was a storefront and 2 apartments, and it was non-conforming, legal non-conforming. So what that means is that they're going to let it stay there, but if it gets hit by a meteor tomorrow or it gets knocked down, they're never going to let you build it again. That happens a lot. You need to know that. Now, usually that's a far-fetched situation. You're probably not going to have to rebuild the property from scratch, but you just need to know that, right? Also, a lot of properties in our area were built before the building departments came into effect. So properties built in the 1800s for sure, in the early 1900s, even sometimes in the 30s. A lot of building departments didn't come into existence until the 30s, the 40s, 50s. So they don't have an actual certificate of occupancy, but they were built before, and you get something called a letter in lieu. So it's important to understand that homeowners have no idea what what's the actual truth is. Sometimes they're lying, sometimes they just don't know, and you need to actually call. Sometimes actually go down to and meet in person with the local building department to find out, what am I allowed to build here, what is going on here, and you need to be careful, because you don't want to get, if you're not in contract on a property, you don't want to get that person in trouble. Is this a legal 3-family? And the guy's like, are you crazy? They're using it as a 3-family. So you got to sometimes be more tactful in asking general questions than over specific questions, so you don't want to get anyone in trouble. But I've gone for many variances, been denied many times, been approved many times. It's important to know that there is nothing given. You need to talk to people and say, is this something I can get? And most people will tell you the truth, but you need to speak to more than one person, because people tell you their experiences and may not have had that much experience. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching I offer, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in a study at home program where I teach how to do what I do, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com. And if you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. And please keep the comments coming. This came from a question. I don't always know what to say. I post 5 times a week. You can ask anything. Does not have to be about the video you're watching. I don't care. If it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something that I've covered recently, I'll send you links to videos, and if it's a video on it, and if it's something that I haven't covered in a while, something I've never covered, I will do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.